Good evening, St. Lucia. Welcome to 758 Sports Talk. And we had a really packed weekend. We had a lot of postponements due to weather inclemency, but we got certain things done. We saw Julian Alfred and the rest of the gang, Jan Odlam Smith, and of course Shelton St. Rose returning home from Argentina, a long trip across the Atlantic to St. Lucia. Congratulations again to these individuals. Made us very proud. Of course, Odlam Smith doing well, personal best, pretty much age group record, breaststroke, 100 meter, freestyle, pretty much doing his thing. I remember the very first result to come in was from his exploits, and seeing his name up there with the rest of the world just had us just beaming with pride here at DBS. And then later on, Julian Alfred, Leoness Comprehensive Stand Up. That's my school. Love you guys, of course, forever. Mr. Lubo and the rest of the gang. Cuff but modest. Congratulations to all of you guys who made it possible. The 2As, the Olympic Committee, everybody. Congratulations to those of you who helped out in any way, shape, or form. We know a lot of the politics and some of the little glitches, or just put mildly, that we see from time to time when it comes to athletics in St. Lucia. But for this moment, for the last week and a half, all we've been speaking about is her exploits and the fact that she and Shelton have definitely made us proud. And of course, the swimming fraternity is definitely beaming with pride to see their own representing pretty well on an international or global St. Lucia. You have to wrap your mind around this. This is at a global level. Our young athletes making us proud. So they returned home, and of course they went over to the Governor General's house. And from all indications, they would have been tired, but they were welcomed gracefully by the administrators and the powers that be. And so I certainly hope that they got what they deserve in terms of a reception. All right, we also saw on the weekend 3x3 basketball over in Guyana. St. Lucia being represented by our young ladies and young men. And again, not faring too badly. St. Lucia finished 4th in the ladies and 5th in the boys, in fact, in the men. And they did very, very well over there. All right, also on the weekend, we saw a signing of a memorandum of understanding, which we'll get into after our first break. We have some guests in studio, and we're going to discuss that briefly. And later on, we have another set of guests that will be talking about another developmental program for sports in St. Lucia. So stick around. We have an absolutely packed night for you guys. All right, so locally, we saw the postponement of something I was looking forward to, mothers and daughters in cricket. Very good initiative put on by the local organizing committee for the 2018 ICC Women's World T20. It was supposed to be a fusion of women. And of course, the ICC World T20 will be the female version, will be taking place here in St. Lucia from November 10th. And mothers and daughters in cricket, this activity was supposed to take place at the Larry Sus playing field in the Mabia Valley, and it would have involved daughters, mothers, grandmothers, and putting in some fun activities, drills, cricket drills, some I was about to say salsa, but it's not salsa, soccer size, and mini cricket matches. Just a fusion of activities for women, and at the Larry Sus playing field, and we all know that field always brings in a crowd. I was looking forward to that. So that has been postponed until next weekend, and that should be fun. Of course, I will definitely be there with my camera to take in as much action as possible and bring it to you guys next week, God willing. We also saw the postponement of the Grosley, the Spider Cup. It was supposed to get off at the Corinth playing field on Sunday, but that was also postponed due to the inclement weather. And so that will be taking place next weekend. Again, this is another event we'll be following pretty closely for you guys. Last Friday, we saw the culmination of the knockout stage of the futsal competition. And for those of you who were not there, you missed an absolute treat in the celebrity game. Tennyson John pretty much shelled down the place. If you guys have not seen that video, you need to go to St. Lucia Sports Online and check out what happened. Tennyson John was the goalkeeper for a brief moment. And of course, the captain of the team was HP. Had him substituted immediately after that incident. pretty funny. More than likely will be our so sad moment of the week by Friday. But you guys can go to St. Lucia Sports Online and take in that video. We also have a video on there with the celebrity match between Ezra's team and HP's team. A very nice game. Of course, you'll see all the goals scored there. Narcissus and Servants putting on a show for you guys. And so you can definitely take that in. Now, also on the weekend, we saw the Black Hat prize giving ceremony for the Black Hat football competition, 2018 version of the competition. Of course, by many accounts, the best Black Hat competition we've seen in a while. And the thing about it is, Black Hat is always an exciting competition. It's football. St. Lucians love their football. And we saw for the first time the finals be taking place at the Philip Masley grounds in Viewfort. And that pulled quite a crowd. And this year, what was left to actually see was the awards. After it's normally held about a week or two after the organizers would have had time to take in most of the games and decide on MVPs, decide on outstanding players for the competition. And we saw on Saturday night at I think it was Clear Sky Hotel. I think that's the name of the hotel in Viewfort. We have a couple of pictures from that for you guys. We're going to display while we have this conversation. And of course, we see Mr. Emmanuel Bellas being awarded the Coach of the Year. Absolutely no surprise there. Emmanuel Bellas, Viewfort winning Black Hat competition for 3 years in a row. No other team in the history of the competition had done it that way. That is 12 consecutive games in Black Hat, pretty much beating all teams and having that sort of perfect record. And there was no doubt in my mind that he would have won that award. Of course, closely following him would be the library coach, who did a very, very good job. But now we're seeing the Goal of the Year recipient. That goal was in the final against Labry from half line, as we would call it. First goal by the individual, very well deserved. Of course, in close contention again was a goal I saw from 2 goals. One was from Reader Stanislav. at 4880929. You can join the conversation on our WhatsApp platform for now, 4880929. And of course, we'll open the phone lines a little bit later to take in your questions and your queries. Mr. Hall, how have you been, man? Welcome.
I've been pretty okay. Tuned into what's happening regarding sports development in St. Lucia, in fact, in terms of development overall. And, you know, happy to be here on this program. The last time I was there was a pretty long while back. And happy to share with you some information pertaining to what I think is one of the greatest assets to just overall development of persons. You know, the human resource development is critical in a growing nation like St. Lucia, and this program really speaks to not just sports, but human development in general.
I have to make sure I get rid of the elephant in the room because I want people to listen to you. I want people to listen to what you have to say.
Right.
So, is there a particular reason the shades is it like it's just a part of Isai Hall? Just because I'm pretty much people saying the solution saying, why you all have his shades on? Let's just get that out.
Bright lights really and truly affect my eyes in several different ways, and yeah, I'm naturally a very shy person as well. If I take these shades off, then my eyes will immediately close, and I would not be looking at anything in particular. So,
so don't send me that WhatsApp question, St. Lucia.
Yeah, but I mean, I think I've explained that, you know, sufficiently, and I actually see a lot clearer behind the shades.
Okay.
So, all right.
After school program. Tell us about that. What is this after-school program? We've been hearing of after-school programs. Of course, social transformation, community development. They've had an after-school program in some communities. I remember Moshi had one, music, homework assistance, you know, sports and that sort of thing. But tell us about this after-school program.
All right. I'll first tell you what it's about, and then I'll tell you what distinguishes this program from all the other after-school programs. This is actually a government initiative. I mean, if you look at the government's manifesto, it was one of the deliverables that was clearly outlined in the government's manifesto. The fact that it was part of a government plan, we don't want people to play politics with this at all. Let me say that from the onset. The people who are involved with this are persons who have been for years involved in youth development, sports development, in fact, education, in all fields that you can think of. And so this is coming out of a dire need to address a very serious problem in St. Lucia. The concept is simple, that between the hours of 3 and 5, a large majority of our St. Lucian youth are left to fend for themselves. And I mean, you can just think of the many ills that this situation has caused, you know, over the years. And so the idea is to address that by putting together a program that is holistic in development, where it speaks to trying to curb and change deviant behavior, improving sporting prowess, offering academic assistance, providing not just nutrition but also information about proper nutrition. So it's the total development of the person. The ultimate goal of this program is to produce good citizens. And while it was part of government's overall plan, the National Lotteries Authority stepped forward. Of course, you know, the NLA is really and truly a part of the Ministry of Youth Development and Sports. And so the minister, the Honorable Edmund Estefan, was charged with the responsibility to get this off the ground. And so the National Lotteries Authority stepped forward and decided, you know what, that would be an absolutely wonderful legacy for the NLA, but also this would be a major contributor to, as I said, human resource development in St. Lucia.
So how exactly did it materialize?
Right. What the NLA did, they invited, I think, sitting at the table was about 22 persons with expertise in all the areas that I spoke of, in education, in health, in social work, in physical education, in sports. I mean, it was just a room filled with, you know, so many professionals in terms of determining how the program will be managed, you know, how the program will be implemented, the content. And so we had about 22 people meeting for a period of maybe about 12 weeks. Some of these meetings ran as many as 4.5 hours, you know, and eventually we came up with what we thought was a blueprint for this particular program. That in itself separates this program from all others. I don't think there's ever been an after-school program that has brought in so much expertise and taken so much time to put together, you know, the overall plan as to how it will unfold. So that for me is a major plus for this program. It's very simple. It engages the students from 3:30 to 5. We've selected 11 centers at this point in time around the island. And just let me indicate, there are centers in, there's Etang, there's centers in Beaufort Primary, the Pierrot Combined School, there's Deriso, there's Dennery, there's Leclerc, there's Vidbouche, there's Laguerre, there's Grosile coming on board this week.
Okay.
So I mean, it's a wealth, there's Millet, you know, it's a real spread across the island. This actually is a second pilot phase of the program. We ran a pilot phase during the summer for 4 weeks. That was primarily to test our policies and our procedures and our operation, you know, and but that did not have the homework component, for example. So it wasn't really a true pilot, but you know, just to wet our feet and see how the children would respond, how the coaches would perform. We did an assessment of that program, and so now we are unleashing the actual blueprint for the program with all of its facets, and it is a second pilot phase which began in October and runs until the end of November. Following this, of course, we will evaluate, and then we will roll off the next phase, which will come January 2019.
Right. So what are the overall objectives of the after school program, the main objectives of the after school program?
Well, first of all, as I said, it is to develop certain habits in our young people. The identification of and development of sporting talent is a key objective, as you may very well understand. Providing proper supervision, guidance, and activities for children 7 to 13 between the hours of 3:30 and 5. We even using this program to try to curb deviant behavior. So kids who, you know, people may find a bit troublesome, sometimes all these kids need is an opportunity to be heard, to be seen, to do something positive. So these are also included in the program. And, you know, with regards to the life skills training, a very important part of this particular program. Imparting in youngsters these values and these social skills that are so necessary for being a role model and for being a good citizen. So, as I said, it's very comprehensive and really and truly building persons. You know, I keep telling people that one of the things that I remember most of all about being a teacher at the RC Boys Primary School is that blackboard right behind Mr. Fowler's chair in his office that said, it's better to build boys than repair men. And that's the thinking behind this program. Makes a lot of sense. You know, certainly.
All right, so you'll have to go through a process of selecting.
Well, in terms of selecting the centers, a combination of things. One, of course, we looked at schools where there was a need for such a program. You know, some schools already have existing programs, and so we didn't want to duplicate that in schools where they existed. But, you know, we have identified certain areas in St. Lucia that are considered underdeveloped to a certain extent regarding the opportunities for children, etc. So that was a primary target. We also looked at schools that had the facilities that we required. You know, facilities are a critical part of this program, and that was also considered in terms of selecting the centers. A lot of, as I said, a lot of people came together to discuss and to finally decide. You know, it's a pilot, and we're going with these particular centers.
And in terms of the students, how were they selected?
The students were selected primarily by the schools themselves. I mean, who better would know, you know, who are the children with those needs than the principal, the teachers, you know. We do have, for example, persons on our committee who, while they are experts in their own fields, also have relationships in the communities and would be knowledgeable, and so, but it was primarily the schools who decided on that. In terms of the coaches and facilitators, we have two key partners. Just let me say that the St. Lucia Football Association and the Athletics Association are the two associations who had already started engaging the National Lotteries Authority about a program of that nature. And so when the NLA decided that it wanted to run with this, they were invited to sit and talk. And that's the reason why football and track and field are the, you know, the two sports in the pilot program. So the coaches and so on, we had recommendations from the FA, recommendations from the Athletics Association. But there was a very, very tough vetting process.
Okay.
The coaches went through an interview process. They have gone through a number of workshops, and they will continue to undergo a lot of training. So while you're having the growth of the participants, the children as well, even the coaches are benefiting tremendously from this with the amount of training and so on that's being provided. So I mean, a very meticulous process. We wanted to ensure that people could feel, happy with the persons who they entrusted their children to.
Definitely. All right. So in terms of the different centers, you have to have some order. You have to have stuff established, rules.
Right. There's actually a handbook that was put together by, the draft was put together by a member of our committee, Mr. Wayne Benty, who's no stranger to anybody. I mean, you program sports. Yeah. And what has happened is that we use certain experts to prepare drafts, and there was a table discussion, and then we decided on the final thing. So there's a handbook with all the rules and so on to guide the centers. But in terms of the management structure, let me just quickly run through that.
Yeah.
You have the government, St. Lucia, as the persons who conceptualize this. You have the Ministry of Youth Development and Sports given the mandate to get it off the ground. But then you have the NLA as the executive producers. So they're the ones funding, they're the ones together with the Ministry of Youth and Sports having the final say with regards to the policies, procedures, operation activities, etc. But then now, coming out of this huge room of persons who sat down to put the program together, we have an executive committee made up of about 11 persons who are essentially the persons who draft the policies, the persons who did all the vetting of the coaches, conducted all the interviews, they do the training, etc. So that's a key level of management with persons, as I said, who are fully qualified in their various fields, from social work to physical education experts to education persons to health persons. So you have that management level as well. The program is under the leadership of a program manager. There's a full-time program manager employed to manage this, to coordinate what's happening at the various centers. But that person is assisted by 2 zonal coordinators, one in the north and one in the south. So that program manager doesn't have to find herself, and it's a lady, Miss Gloria Dorius. She doesn't have to be traveling around the island on a daily basis, because all the centers have to be visited on a weekly basis to ensure that things. So the zonal coordinators, they play that role. They are Miss Patsy Haywood in the north and Mr. MacArthur Phillip in the south. People who are well known, who've been in youth work their entire lives. I mean, these names are not new to anyone. These are people who know what they're about. Yeah. But each center has a team of 4 persons, 3 coaches and a team leader.
Okay.
3 coaches and a life skills facilitator, but one of them is the team leader at each center. So there's a head on the ground at each center who reports to the zonal coordinators, and so these people would ensure that the schedule for the day, they would deal with things like keeping the register, because we want people to be regular and punctual and so on, keeping all the statistics, preparing reports, So I think we put in a management structure that allows for a lot of transparency, but a lot of accountability as well.
Yeah, that's important.
And that's key. The other thing too is that even in terms of how the program will be assessed, it's very well defined. We have a number of instruments that have been designed by our people so that we can measure the performance of the coaches, measure the performance of the life skills facilitator, measure the performance of the zonal coordinators, and as well as the program manager, because the idea is, going forward, this program will only get better and better. Yeah,
that should be the ambition.
That's critical.
All right, so somebody just sent a message, ask Mr. Hall if we still have the match tomorrow for us, please. I have no idea which
I'm not. That's school football. I saw an email today about postponements of games. When I get off, I have to find out about that. The ministry set a schedule for football, but then a number of games have been postponed because of inclement weather, the closure of school for professional development day. So I will. That's one of my footballers from South Louis. We have a WhatsApp group, so I'll provide that information before midnight.
Somebody saying, is shy? I find that hard to be.
Well, that's the reason for the shades all the
time. Good night, Kensit. Just to clarify, Julian Alfred began her sports journey at the Cicero RC Combined School under the leadership of a sports teacher, Simeon Stephen. Big up to CRC School. She's ours. She's almost edition. She went to S. That's all I say. She went to S. I understand. Good night, Dev. Yeah, good night for sure. Good night, Natalie. On the platform here, paying very close attention. Right, a lot of people are paying very close attention to what's being said here. Behavior modification. That is a term that we often use, and we want to see that social transformation is another word for behavior modification. What
you know, in our society, Kenson, I don't know. I guess it's coming out of colonialism and slavery, but we were a society who essentially dealt with deviant behavior through punishment.
Yeah.
You know, you behave bad, you get punished. Nobody really and truly paid attention to perhaps the source. You know, why is it that this particular individual is behaving in that way?
Yeah.
And let me tell you, we have a very strong social worker as part of our team. And we are working in collaboration with the other agencies, social transformation and gender relations. And the idea is that we will encounter trouble, you know, youth at that age. In fact, some persons who have already been identified, and the idea is that they're going to be referred to counseling. There is new legislation regarding how you are able to make contact with children. It's just coming out. There's a manual that we have read. We have had one workshop with our coaches so far, but our coaches are being trained to look for signs of youngsters who are trouble. There are some telltale signs, you know, just like when someone is carrying an injury, there are certain things that
you see.
give you that, you know. So they've been trained to do that and to make the necessary referrals. In fact, there's a list of mandatory persons who are mandated by the law to report any case of possible child abuse, child neglect. If, for example, you know, and it is found out that you know and you didn't report, you will be in trouble under the law. The new legislation speaks to that. So our coaches and are mandatory reporters of that. They can report to the principal. They can report to our social worker consultant, Mrs. Martina Shari. Good night to you. I'm sure you tuned in. She's been doing a fantastic job. But we've also been instructing them on the do's and don'ts for handling children. Do you know that if a child has an injury, you don't just simply put your hand on somebody's child? You can get into serious trouble for that. Even if it's it seems serious and you have to get permission to do that. And our coaches, you could have seen their faces, they were shocked.
Yeah, because they're supposed to go and massage.
That's right. And even innocent phrases like, hey, you look good today.
Yeah,
that's a no-no.
Yeah.
You know, but and the thing is, it's part of our Caribbean culture to make remarks of that nature with good intentions, you know, 99% of the time. So that session that we did with them regarding child protection and the child protection legislature, etc., was so revealing for persons who've been coaching for more than 20 years, you know, and that's the level that we're at. We're at the level whereby we're leaving no stone unturned in ensuring that these children are receiving the best care. So behavior modification through sports, so the intervention of the life skills programs and so on, because you do know, Kenson, from your own personal experience, that when you get children in their natural environment, like sports, they tend to open up to you and will reveal things to you that a teacher may not even find out in a classroom situation. You know,
they might be in the ears in that children's class.
And the important thing is, as you quite rightly said, how the discovery is handled. You know, we have a couple of cases already that are very serious that have been reported, and we really hope. In fact, the National Lotteries Authority has, I think, even advised that if we need to bring on 1 or 2 counselors who will be paid by the NLA as part of the program, go ahead and do so, because we really want to nip those things in the bud.
Yeah, of course, in Jamaica,
very
sports
important.
Sociology. This is sports sociology. Really.
Yes, it is.
Using those sports as an avenue to actually have social change in individuals. All right, so all right, a couple of other discussions there. People want to know the date for mothers and daughters cricket. It's in the Mabia Valley. It is scheduled for Saturday, October 27th. At the same venue and time. So it's at Larisos Playing Field in the Mabia Valley, 3 p.m. on Saturday, October 27th. So mothers and daughters in cricket. All right. Of course, it is 18 days to ICC Women's World T20. Mr. Hall, will you be there in support?
And the children in the after-school program, sponsored by the NLA, have the opportunity to go and see the Women's World Cup.
What's this?
It's actually part of, let me tell you, we have included a number of social activities. I have been involved, for example, in these youth programs for a number of years. I've run Lance's Youth Clinic, the Safa Lewis Youth Clinic. You know, every time we take the children out on tours, it is amazing that children who live in Castries sometimes never go past cul-de-sac. Once they reach Bexo, I mean, they lost. They've never seen them. So from very early, we have asked the centers, and in fact, we've given them some suggestions, to include as part of their programming some social activities. One of those is, when we heard of the Cricket World Cup, getting the centers to actually go to the games. We've already engaged the necessary authorities. We found out that we can get free tickets for some of our kids, and guess what? Even parents too. So we have already thrown it out to some parents in some centers who jumped on board and seized the opportunity. So that's going to be one of the outings for our children. I've also asked every center to take children to a football match, to provide them with an education about football, not just to simply be at the venue. And that's what happens. In a lot of instances, you take youngsters to a sporting activity and they leave the game with nothing new.
It
should be educational, where you engage them, you ask questions. That signal from the referee. You know, I want to engage the president of the FA about getting a few referees to come in and do some basic things with the kids in this program, so that we can start developing a new pool of referees. A 9, 10, 11-year-old, I mean, I think the Vidbutay camp took them to the FA and they met a referee there in the first pilot phase, and you were amazed. I mean, Mr. CD said to me, he was amazed at the questions they were asking the referees. So they want to know, they need to know, and the earlier we get that information to them, the more likely they are to become better referees when they grow up, you know. So it's an opportunity to start, as I said, you know, bringing in a new cadre of referees to St. Lucia.
All right. We're going to open the lines right now. Of course, we're going to take your calls. Obviously, I said earlier that we have a couple of tickets to give away, so Mr. Hall will probably test his knowledge to see if he knows the answers to some of those questions. Sports purist. This guy loves the sport.
I think I might be getting a free ticket.
But definitely, if you have any questions about the National Lotteries Authority launched after-school program, of course, you could comment. Basically, if you want clarity on anything, you could call 451-9788 or 451-9788, or you could continue to send your messages at 488-0929 or 488-0929 if you have any questions. All right, so somebody says somebody wanted to know who is the we Hall is referring to. I'm trying to figure out when you
the executive committee. Just let me quickly run through some of the people here. Dr. Vanetta Lesporis, who is the curriculum officer in the Ministry of Education. Ms. Theophila Charles, curriculum officer as well in physical education. We have Mr. Wayne Benty, who is the vice principal of the Barbono School. Also, he's one trained at the master's degree level with regards to physical education and sports. We have Mr. Zapatas Hunt, who is the chairman of the committee, also trained in Cuba, physical education teacher. I mean, brings a wealth of expertise regarding physical education and sports to the table. We have Mr. Vincent Boland, who is a banker by profession, but also very much involved in football at the FA level.
National youth coach.
National youth coach, that's right. We have Mr. Ligorius Marquis, who is from the Ministry of Youth Development and Sports, and anytime any issues have to be addressed with regards to facilities, facility upgrades, which are also included in part of the program. We have Mr. Ligorius Marquis. I'm thinking fast. Miss Claudia Noel, former Director of Youth and Sports, but also a board member of the NLA. We have Miss Alicia Elovic. We have the principal of the Grosile, is it? Not Grosile. I'm forgetting his name, but we have another principal who's also part of the committee, also board member of the NLA. So, you know, persons, as I said, with very diverse backgrounds, and I said a lot of expertise, they make up the executive committee, and we meet regularly to ensure that, you know, the program is unfolding the way it should.
All right. So I'm just going to give away a ticket for the ICC Women's World T20. So we're going to multitask while we have our discussion. The first question I'm going to ask the person who could call 4519788 and give you an answer will win the ticket to the ICC Women's World T20. How many ICC Women's World T20s have there been? In other words, which version? What version is this? Is this the 100th? Is it the 99th? Is it the 10th? How many ICC Women's World T20s will this one be? Alright, how many have there been inclusive of this one? I hope I made that clear. 4519788 is the number to call. Alright, phone is vibrating. You cannot message the answer. Alright, I'm actually going to put another question out there if that one is too difficult. How many participating teams do we have in this year's ICC World T20? How many participating teams will there be in this year's ICC World T20? All right, so
I'm sure you'll get the answers to those questions. These things are just one Google away.
Well, yeah, I tell you, Google fingers works, you know. We've been discussing this this program. Has it begun? What was the start date? What's the end date? What's the time frame for?
Well, as I said, we had the first phase, a 4-week pilot phase during the summer, testing out our procedures and protocols, etc. We are into the second pilot phase. This is where we've included the homework assistance. So there's sports, there's homework assistance, there's life skills, there's the nutritional aspect to it. This started at the beginning of October and ends at the end of November. There's a 1-month period where we're going to do the appraisals of the coaches, appraisals of all the management team. We're going to assess all the protocols and procedures, read all reports, and come January, the program recommences in January in full bloom. No more pilot testing, but hard and heavy from January.
Right. So
this program is supposed to last 2 years, and the total investment from the National Lotteries Authority is $2.2 million.
Wow. And that would cover, so we're looking at a time frame of 3 to 5. So we have to feed the children as well?
Time frame, because don't forget, this also provides employment. All of the coaches are employed in the program. There are caterers who do the catering on a daily basis. Yeah. These persons are all paid for the catering, etc. So there's employment. I mean, there are persons who've been employed to do rehabilitative works on playing fields, etc. And the idea is, after the 2-year period, this program is supposed to expand in a very big way. The after-school program is supposed to be twinned with the sports development initiatives, so that by the next 2 years, almost every community should have sporting facilities, whether it be for basketball, cricket, netball. So really and truly, this program will expand into other sports, into other communities, and that's the whole, even other age groups. 2 critical age groups, for example. We have the problem with secondary and tertiary level students hanging around town. Yeah. But we also have the problem that we start our sports development rather late. 7 years old is not the best time to be, embarking on sports development. Early childhood education needs a serious injection. In fact, the PE Teachers Association, we had a meeting with the early childhood unit sometime last year. One of the things that we really want to do is produce a curriculum guide for physical education and sports in the early childhood program. That is so very necessary. You have all these youngsters here. I mean, was Jean-Pierre won this
slam dunk
individual award. Yeah. Do you know that Jean-Pierre really started playing basketball at age 14?
Yeah, I heard that.
When he came to Sir Arthur Lewis, I said, but listen, how long have you been playing? He said, sir, I just started, I'm like, this guy's height, and I'm saying, you mean this guy went through the entire primary school and nobody thought basketball? Or maybe a fast bowler in cricket or something like that,
volleyball or something.
Yeah, so the idea is really and truly to expand in that manner, whereby this becomes the norm within our schools and within our communities, that after school you go into a program that you can. I heard talk of this new swimming pool that they're about to build in Kaweli. All of these things would be assets to such a program where you have swimming, etc. So the expansion is expected in the next 2 years.
So we're talking about sports. So generally, what are your thoughts on the new thrust in terms of school sports? We have in pretty much 2 two-tier sort of system under one competition in terms of under 19 and 18. What are your thoughts towards that move?
I think it responds to an urgent need with regards to separating persons based on abilities. Really and truly, some schools did not belong in certain sports, playing against others because of the vast difference in terms of their abilities. And it could be really frustrating to have a netball team and get beat 45-1.
Yeah. Good evening, you're live. Go ahead with your contribution.
Good evening. I tried so hard not to call. I was giving everybody else a chance. But then, if nobody is taking the chance, so is it 10 teams?
Yes, yes. 10 teams are participating in this year's World Cup. So you got the second question correct. But what is your name, caller?
Miss Ismail.
As though you didn't know, Ken.
You really think I didn't know? Yeah, how you doing today?
I'm good. It's a nice program. It's a nice program.
Nice discussion, huh?
Yes, yes. Very interesting.
Davia, how are you? I saw a very, very, very pretty picture on Facebook. Somebody...
Yes, I'm ready. I'm ready.
I wish I saved that picture so Junior can post it up. This is commitment to ICC Women's World T20. She colored, she dyed her hair maroon, West Indies, Windies, maroon color. And Davia, trust me.
So you know how I do it. You know how I do it.
Let me tell you, some people will try it and will not work, but you hit it out of the park, my girl. Very good look, very good look.
Thank you, thank you.
Well, congratulations again. I think that's your second ticket. I don't want to keep counting.
I want a t-shirt and a ticket.
Oh dear, you've said that. You've said that. I will organize that. I'm certainly hoping the venue manager is listening and those involved to actually allow that. You know, this exception is made because you've been committed to the cause. You've been encouraging persons on Facebook. All of I post anything on ICC Women's World T20. Watch this. You're the first one to give a thumbs up and make comments. And so definitely I'll bring that to their attention. And I'm pretty sure they're listening.
Thanks.
We're online, so even if they're in Antigua, they can hear us. They can see what we're talking about.
Okay.
Congratulations, my girl. I know exactly how to find you.
All right. Good night.
All right. So there will be 10 teams participating in this year's ICC Women's World T20. Of course, I have another question out there. I'm going to put another one to you guys. I have asked how many ICC Women's World T20s have there been. Okay, we have a caller. Good evening. Good evening. You're live. Go ahead with your contribution. Yes, you're live.
Yes, you're live.
Turn on the volume on the television. Listen to the phone. All right, we seem to have lost that caller. Okay, so when you guys call, just turn down the volume of your television set. All right. Okay, so we still have one question out. How many ICC Women's World T20s have there been? So we're going to put another one out. How many matches will be played in total in this year's ICC Women's World T20? That's a very nice question. How many matches will be played in total in this year's ICC World T20? Good evening. You're live. Go ahead for contribution. All right. We seem to have missed that call. All right. If you cannot tell me that, I'm going to ask another question. Which facility has the highest capacity in terms of crowd for this World T20? Good evening. You're live. Go ahead for contribution.
Hi. Good evening.
Hi. Good evening. How are you?
I'm okay.
Talk to me. You want to answer one of the questions?
Yeah.
All right, somebody's calling on the 488. That is not the number to call. It's 451. Yes. So which question are you gonna answer?
I am going to answer. Well, I could answer any one of them. The first or the third. The third is 23 matches.
One question you're answering, my lady. One question. If you try and answer another one and rob somebody else, we're not even giving you that one. One question. All right. So yes, the third question, how many matches will be played in total in this year's ICC World T20? You are absolutely correct. 23 matches will be played in this year's ICC World T20. What's your name, caller?
Lincoln Philip.
Your name is Lincoln Philip? Yes. Chad, no stars.
From Masha?
You from Masha? You played national football. You had the most goals in Blackheart 2018. Okay, Lincoln.
Oh, yeah. Not 2018 alone, 2017, even before.
You know, whole history. The Lincoln Phillip. Put in Lincoln Phillip.
Well, Lincoln has an agent, obviously.
I'll stop him on that bike when I see him next time, of course. All right. Hold the line. I don't have Lincoln's number, so hold the line, and they will take your contact information off air. All right. Congratulations. So, how many of those 23 games will you be attending?
Lincoln, I think everyone played in St. Lucia.
Okay, Lincoln will be at everyone played in St. Lucia.
Yep.
Okay. All right. So, what about Donovan? How many will he be attending?
I'm not sure about that.
You're not sure? Okay. All right. Congratulations. Hold the line to give your contact information.
No problem.
All right. So we've had 2 questions answered already.
People know. People know.
Just Google.
You know, the promotion for this Women's World Cup has really been tremendous. And I must commend the team responsible for promoting the game, especially the local games here in St. Lucia. It's been absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
You know, the use of the places where people congregate in large numbers, the football, you know, it's just been, this is what has been lacking with regards to the promotion of cricket in particular, regional and international cricket in St. Lucia. So hats off to the persons, Usha and the team, fantastic job. When
they are finished with this handbook, they just need to put it together.
Yeah.
I'm not going to pass it on. That is a lot of work you're putting there. Just
put on the website.
Oh, you can put it on St. Lucia Sports Online. Yeah. I think they're gracious enough to give it to us, give us the template, and just post it exactly how to promote a cricket or any sporting event. They've been to all organizations, they've liaised with other sporting disciplines, they've really gone out with their bat. I mean, when you're passing along Dennery, I mean, you cannot miss that bat there. That's standing right there. Same thing along the Grocery Highway as well. All right, so I asked a question, which facility has the highest, just now we're going back to you, which facility has the highest capacity or can hold the highest number of persons in another call? So, good evening, you're live.
Hi, good evening.
Yes, go ahead with your contribution.
Diana?
No, I cannot give you that.
The largest capacity? Antigua?
Alright, we'll have to give somebody else a chance because you're starting to guess. You on the I wonder if I should give